Is Saban done? Also, Coach Prime and the Buffs keep on winning. That and more here on Unfair Sports, where we take a pensive approach to the sports conversation. I am your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Let's go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. And so we're going to go around college football and talk all kinds of great topics here on September 13th, because there was a lot of fun this past weekend. And we'll lead off with Alabama, Texas, and exactly what's going on with Bama, and is Nick Saban done? That's the question. Texas A&M, I swear, they just cannot figure anything out whatsoever. Colorado keeps winning, and I want to talk about what Coach Prime is doing that other teams cannot try to replicate. And then we'll jump right into Utah as well as Oregon, a little bit of Wisconsin, and Ole Miss. You can hit us up on the Unfair Fan Line, 430-901-1906, and let us know what you think of the show. Love to get your strongest opinions. You can check it in the description as well. We would love to get a call from you, and you might end up on the show one day. We're going to do a call-in the future. So hit us up, 430-901-1906. Thank y'all for pulling up as usual. Told you we're going to get back on track. We're going to have these, especially when I'm not traveling. We'll have these episodes where we are talking ball, just college football in general, right? Just me basically getting on here running my mouth. And so, of course, the goal is for these to be segments of 10 minutes or less. We'll probably break these up in 5x5s and go through all of these games. We've got about 8 games to really jump into from last week. And I think if I can find the time, I'm going to do another episode on Fridays that will be the preview for the weekend. And also, if you've made it here, we're 2 minutes in the description. If you're not watching the premiere, you can click on the times of the chapters and it jumps to right to each game. My apologies, I'm all tongue-tied. But you can check those out there. That way, if you want to see a particular, breakdown from me and want to get my thoughts on a particular game, it'll be there. And so, thank y'all for supporting the show as usual. If you've checked us out, we do the Bleacher Report, I guess you could say college football prediction roundtable. We did it last Friday for the first time. It was so much fun. I was nervous as hell, even though I do this all the time, but I was nervous. It was a live show on a new platform. I wanted to make a good impression, and yeah, it was kind of weird. So check it out. These are the predictions that we all put up. So you got myself, you got Ty Hayes from Around the Table, you got Nick from Nino's Sports, as Nino's Corner Sports, as well as Steven from the Fanatic Perspective. As you know, the bottom 2 guys are Texas fans. Ty is an Alabama fan, and me, of course, an Oklahoma Sooner, as well as Tennessee Volunteers. So we got to pick our games. These are the ones that we selected. And out of all of those, who on here only missed one game? This guy. Yeah, I'm going to be tooting my horn when we talk about it on Friday. So just make sure you tune in. It's on the Bleacher Report app. It happens at 10 a.m. Central this week, 11 Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. You can hear me on there, and I would love for y'all to pull up and join your boy. And so let's jump into these games. I've gone about 4 minutes of just opening, and I just want to give y'all that formality. We'll have a tiers and Heisman list after week 4. So in October, you'll see the tiers as well as the Heisman thoughts and rankings. At that point, I'm not going to do it beforehand because I'm going to be honest. I've told y'all before, I did the preseason one. I hate any poll before week 4, mainly because we don't know. I need a sample size. And usually, even these non-conference games that are blowouts, you get enough information at that point to have an idea of what tier people should be in, who's in your title contenders, who's a playoff contender, so meaning make the playoffs, but you probably won't win the title, who's your conference champion tier, those that will make a bowl game. We have all of that to really look at, and that usually populates around week 4. You start really learning who teams are. I mean, I even said that about my Sooners last year. We lost right at the point of week 4. We lost the 4th game of the season, started 3-0, lost the 4th game, and that's when things tailspinned. And you usually see that from a lot of teams. When they start to really meet their first piece of true competition, that's when they either fold or they flourish. And so for me, that is when we should see it. So let's dive into the first game here. We've got Texas and Bama. What a battle. I was watching that and the OU SMU game at the same time. And I even went back and watched the Bama game as well as rewatched the Oklahoma game. And so we'll close with Oklahoma SMU for you all. But to start off, Texas went out there and did it. They went out to Bryant-Denny. They beat Nick Saban double digits for the first time in his career at Alabama, and the first time it's happened at Bryant-Denny Stadium since 2004. So Texas should be riding high. Quinn Ewers out there cooked. He was balling with 349 yards. He had 3 tutties. He was out there just lobbing that thing, and he was looking good. Jalen Milroe struggled. We'll talk about him on the other side, but let's talk about Texas and what they did. When I looked at the game, they did not get to run like they wanted to. They were held, pretty good on the run game, but overall, they balled. And it's funny because when I was talking on Around the Table with Ty and Nino on Monday, and Nino made this point, and that was the thing I thought about the entire time. If this was last year, Texas loses this game. If it was 2 years ago, Texas loses the game. These are the games that Texas would traditionally lose because they're down 16-13 going into the fourth quarter. They have lost those games. They didn't this time. They rose to the occasion. They went out there. They buckled down. The defense looks really good. Hate to say it about a rival, but their defense looks good. They went out there. They got the touchdown. They got the interception, and they capitalized right afterwards. Then Bama, of course, scored. So you thought, okay, this game's going to get more interesting. Bama's going to do it. Nope. Texas went and scored again. And then they forced Bama to punt. The game is over. So that's what you want. You want to see your team flourish in the situations where it seems like they would normally fall. And so there's absolutely no reason to think, though, that Texas is back as people are trying to proclaim. We don't know yet. I mean, the last time it was said they went 10-3 in the season. We haven't seen a 10-win season since, right? So you got to make sure that first they're going to live up to the hype. If they live up to the hype, we may be able to, buy into it. But until they get to the hype, can't do it. I've got to wait and see what it looks like when we get to the point of them going around that corner. I think that Texas is at the corner. I don't think they've got around it yet. This was a huge win. This was also to a Bama team that we've always had questions on, even though on paper they're the top team. I did a video talking about the ESPN FPI, the computers that they have, the analytics. Analytics still has Alabama as the number 1 team in the country. That's what the computers say. The computers in their simulations still likes Alabama in every single game this season. And Texas moved up, though. Texas moved up into the top 5. Sorry, top 10. They were number 10. I think they're like number 6 now. 6 or 5. So they've moved up. They've moved up those ranks, and that's something that you want to see if you want to be a believer as a Texas fan. And so let me give y'all the exact. They're number 6 on that list. So that's a win for you all as Texas fans. Just keeping it a buck. That's a win. You should all be excited about the fact that the computers are starting to buy more into you again. Even though you start the season off pretty high at 10. I mean, you moved up before. You were up in the top 10 before the season started, dropped to 10, and now you're up here to number 6. And I anticipate Texas hovering all around that until they play somebody else that could push them. So I'm hoping they do not overlook this Wyoming team and go in there and buckle down and play. This would be a game that Texas would traditionally lose, but I don't think they lose that game. They shouldn't. That game is on paper perfect for them to go ahead and tune up to go up against the in-state battle against Baylor. And we know Baylor's struggling, but you don't want to ever fight a dude that's backed in a corner. That's the worst one, the ones that feel like they need it the most. We'll talk about the Baylor game later, but Baylor's got to figure it out. And Aranda and his boys got to do something if they want to not fall into oblivion. And so Texas can't overlook them. And then they got Kansas. They got Kansas coming to town. They traveled to Waco, and they got Kansas coming in. And Jalen Daniels has given them hell before. And Texas has had problems with Kansas in the past. I'm just saying it's like their problem with Kansas is similar to what Oklahoma's problem has been with Kansas State. That's what it feels like. And that's recent history for them. For us, for Oklahoma, it's always been the problem. And so as long as Texas maintain their buckle down game, I think they'll be fine. They'll be able to do some stuff. So let's talk about Bama. Bama in this game struggled. And they struggled in the pass game. And so they brought in Tommy Rees to run Saban's offense. And Saban, of course, he will veto any call that Tommy Rees does or any offensive coordinator does if he feels like it's not something that works out for him. And I talk about this before, that Saban and them, they were looking at Jeff Lebby. I believe he interviewed or had a conversation at least. And one of the things that made me feel like he wouldn't take that job is that he loses power. Oklahoma, Lebby has power. He has power over the offense. And that's something. It's kind of like Sam Presti here with the Thunder. Why people they really believe that Sam Presti would leave Oklahoma City. And I tell people all the time, he ain't going to a bigger market, because here at Oklahoma City, Sam Presti has nothing but power. Like, he literally is like the top dude. At some point, he's probably going to end up being team president. The dude's got power. He's just that guy. And he has a full autonomy. He does his thing. And that's different. Same thing for Lebby. And so for Saban, it's now, since Saban has that autonomy, he's in charge of everything. They're trying to get Jalen Milroe up to speed. And to be honest, I just don't feel like that system is conducive for the growth of Jalen Milroe. It doesn't feel like it. And so I've been seeing national media people. I think it was Barstool Sports. They had a whole segment about Alabama, and they actually had the nerve to say that this Alabama team doesn't have much elite talent on it. I'm sorry, what? So, yeah, somebody said that national media people shouldn't have these spokes. I'm not going to say they shouldn't have mics. Everybody has their opinion. I totally get it. But do a little bit of research on that. Alabama had, 10, 247 5-stars in like the last cycle, and they ain't lost nobody. You know what I'm saying? Or that 2 cycles ago. Bama has talent. They have the highest blue chip rate in the country. Georgia had the last 2 years. Bama beat them this year. They got a 5-star at every position. They got talent. The problem is they don't have the quarterback yet. Milroe was a 4-star. He's a blue chip, but he's not as a passer as refined as the ones that they're used to walking in the door with. The Bryce Youngs of the world, even Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, hell, Jalen Hurts. I'd say that Milroe's closer to Hurts than he is Tua or Bryce Young. And I'll say that in a serious note. Back then in the Jalen Hurts era, even as was the SEC Offensive Freshman of the Year or whatnot, or Offensive Player of the Year he got, Hurts ran the ball a lot. He didn't throw a lot. He ran it more. They had design runs. They had it set up. They were down there playing bully ball. And against Texas, you can't do that because Texas has been recruiting the trenches like crazy. They've done well lately. They've done well in getting better offensive linemen and getting better defensive linemen. They've done a great job at both of those, which is what I hate, because as an Oklahoma fan, I don't want to face them like that. But at the same time, it's always good to play good teams because iron sharpens iron. We can prove ourselves at that point. But that's my thing. Texas has, and Sark, this is his 3rd year, so he has had time to really get the players he knows he needs to beat a team like Alabama. Remember, he worked at Alabama at 2 stints. He went to Alabama as an analyst, and he was the interim OC when Lane Kiffin left. Went to the NFL and worked for the Falcons for 2 years, and then came back to Bama as the offensive coordinator. After he went the offensive coordinator deal there, he's now at Texas. So he knows what you need to do to be successful in the SEC. And Texas is moving to SEC. And so Sarkisian's prepared. That's the difference. And so with Saban and them, it's just that Milroe's, unfortunately, is one of those quarterbacks you're done on. And everybody, I don't think Milroe's bad. I just think that this system is not conducive for his growth. Now, he can show out later in the season. He can show growth this year. And ain't no reason you'll hear me say that Saban's done. Yes, that's what the thumbnail says. I asked the question because everybody's saying it. He is not done. There's nothing about Nick Saban that I can ever say is done until he loses 4 games in a season. They will win 10 games this year. Now, they do got some challenging games coming up in this schedule, because when I looked at it, I was like, okay, who does Alabama play next, and who this season will give them the biggest problems? They got Ole Miss, which will be a ranked game in 2 weeks. I think the Tennessee game will be a challenge, and I think the LSU game will be a challenge. I don't know if Arkansas is going to be a challenge. A&M will not be. I'll explain later. Iron Bowl will be a challenge because he's going to face against a foe that has beaten him before, which is Hugh Freeze. Auburn does not look good, but they may actually show up for this game. So overall, there's only really 2 teams I would see that's truly a concern for them to lose in. That's playing Tennessee at home and then LSU at home back-to-back. That could be, and the good thing for them is They actually get a week off in between Tennessee and LSU. So even though you play them back to back, you get a break. They're off October 28th. Because they're off the week of the 28th, next week after that in November is when LSU shows up. Man, that is 4 weeks at home. Because they go home on the 14th against Arkansas, then Tennessee, break, A&M. LSU. That's a good thing for them. They need that. So Tennessee is going to be a challenge, especially after Arkansas, but I think they'll be fine for the rest of the year. Please don't listen to anybody that tells you that Nick Saban's done. They're lying to you. They're lying. And yes, I put it on the picture with the question. It was clickbait. You're here now, right? They're not done. Saban's not done. He's still got the talent. He just needs the quarterback. And they've got a few quarterbacks. Man, when Julian Sayin shows up, we may just shut up about Saban being done at that point. Think he's going to be a special talent coming in the next recruiting class. So hop in the comments. Let me know about that game. How'd y'all feel? What was y'all thoughts? Think about Texas. Think about Bama. We'd love to hear from you all here on the channel. I try to jump in and hop in the comments while this show is premiering today. Luckily, you're going to see a bunch of me. So enjoy yourselves. Okay, next game. We got to talk about this Colorado-Nebraska game. Jeez. My people. Jeez. Like, talk to me about what y'all think about what Colorado's doing. We're going to talk about both teams, of course, but I want to dive into what Coach Prime is doing. I did a morning after recap. I did an instant reaction to that game. I want y'all to understand something, and I want y'all to hear me crystal clear when I say this. And this is no shade to anybody out there that's working their butts off trying to figure this out. Let me explain something to you. This, my friends, is not something that's going to be replicated. It's not. Coach Prime did something that is very much unprecedented because he's Deion Sanders. He's Coach Prime. He has an alter ego. He's prime time. He has all of that. And so we don't have to worry about anybody ever doing what Coach Prime is doing because it's not something you can do. That's him. He is him. We watched him dominate college. We watched him dominate the NFL. Game changer, right? So, but what he did, but the portions of what he did are replicatable. Now, I heard Josh Pate say this after week 1, and he was spot on. And I want to reiterate this. Teams are now going to see if they can find themselves a Deion Sanders, and it's going to be the biggest mistake of their lives. You are not finding a guy that is one of one, that have told you he's one of one. There is no Nick Saban. There is one Nick Saban. Kirby Smart is a different version of somebody else. The Kirby Smart is Kirby Smart. Dabo Swinney's Dabo Swinney. But the dominance of a Nick Saban, you're never going to see again. Maybe not in this lifetime. It's going to be a while to find somebody that can do that at that level and still do it. Saban's got to be gone for us to get that. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime doing what he's doing is not something that you can think that is replicatable because it's not. The problem for him is, the thing about him is in all of this is that Coach Prime made the moves that were smart. And I talk about this ad nauseum, and I want y'all to hear me crystal clear when I say it. He came in with a quarterback, his son, that everybody doubted. Granted, everybody doubted. I had a feeling. I've seen Shedeur play. He was a 4-star out of Dallas. He can play. And he's showing you he can play, which is the most important part. He's got his daddy's gene. He's got that, yeah, you can doubt me all you want. I'm going to show you up. That's what you want. So that, to me, is the reason why Coach Prime and him are so successful right now. You can't be him. He is him. Catch my drift. That's not something that's replicatable. That guy is himself. Good luck finding another one. He also did something that's really different. He went and got a whole bunch of prospects, got a bunch of talent, got a bunch of players out the portal. He flipped his entire roster. So going into this Nebraska game, he had 60-something plus new scholarship players. Nebraska had a few transfers, but didn't take many of them. And the one thing that Matt Rule did not bring with him was a quarterback. He picked up a transfer, which was Jeff Sims, but it's not his quarterback. Remember, Shedeur was with Coach Prime at Jackson State and in high school. He knew what he was working with. He brought him an offensive coordinator that's never had as much talent as he had there at Colorado, and Sean Lewis. Sean Lewis made that offense so easy for Shedeur to run. He said, man, just be cerebral and do your thing. He's mentored by Tom Brady. There's so many factors that we tried to overlook on this. Colorado does have one problem. Their defense got to get better. It will in time. They don't have the depth yet. That's all it is. But they'll get there. So they're going to be a team that's going to be really tough to get out. I don't expect a single game to be a blowout for them because they have the offense that can win shootouts. They have a team built for the Pac-12. 100%. You got Travis Hunter. You've got Dylan Edwards, who's monstrous. We still haven't seen Cavassier Smoke or Alton, the running back that came from Houston. You ain't got him out there yet. Colorado has a team full of just dudes. Like dudes. Something that you probably didn't expect. Alton McCaskill. I always forget is McCaskill or McClutchin, but McCaskill. So you got Alton McCaskill who's coming off that injury, and you got Dylan Edwards as well as Cavassier Smoke. And they're all still young. Cavassier is the oldest. You really ain't seen him. Wide receiver wise, those freshman wide receivers are the ones cooking. Then you got Xavier Weaver, who he got out of the transfer portal with Jimmy Horn Jr. You see the type of players he went after? The ones that he was focused on, the ones that he wanted on this roster? Amarion Miller, the recruit. They're also seeing their name in the ranks with all of these recruits. And so now that you see in Colorado in top fives, top fours, even more, recruiting may have slowed down, but that bad boy's going back up. Coach Prime is doing it. He's doing something that a lot of people cannot do because he's him. So let's not try to say that we're going to see teams replicate this or try. Teams don't try to replicate this. Find your coach and hopefully he has a quarterback that can come with him or get you one that's really good at developing quarterbacks. Then you'll be fine. Because Lincoln Riley did it when he went to USC. He took Caleb Williams with him, and Caleb Williams basically carried them to those wins this season. He is him. He's won the Heisman for a reason because he's that good. Not everybody can do that. So keep that in mind whenever you turn over a roster like Coach Prime did. Hell, Venables didn't do it for Oklahoma, but guess what he did this past summer? He turned over that roster. Over 80% of the players are gone from Oklahoma. That was when before Brent Venables got there. There's a reason why. Coach Prime did that. And so looking at Nebraska, they'll be fine. Defensively, this was a good game for them. They held Colorado all the way up until, the second quarter before they started letting them score. Now, it was 4 punts in a row. They made them punt 4 times in a row, which is what you want. Then, of course, they just couldn't stop getting over their own feet. Jeff Sims could not stop fumbling, could not catch a snap to save his life. And so for Rule, he's going to have to figure out, do I need to keep this man as my quarterback right now? Or, can we accept the growing pains? Are we okay with the growing pains that we're dealing with? A lot of people are not okay with it. Some people want him gone, and I totally get it. But the one thing I would understand here is this, that Matt Rule is going to have Nebraska looking better. They looked good defensively in this game. They slowed them down, but guess what? They ran out of gas. And that's what happens when you have a team that doesn't have the attrition that you need, right? When you don't have attrition, when you don't have enough players to rotate in and out, the moment that you run out of gas, it's a done deal. And that's exactly what happened to Nebraska. Outside of the fact that Colorado made them run out of gas because Colorado's got a good offense. And the beauty of what Colorado did in this game is that they put their foot on the gas and they kept pressing that bad boy. They kept pressing it and pressing it and pressing it. 36-7 was the score before they let them score a touchdown at the end of the game. That 14, that mother is not real. Keep that in mind. Even though the numbers are still there. That's not real. Let's dive into Baylor. What is going on with Dave Aranda in this team? They look so undisciplined. They just do not look good. Granted, they only had five penalties in this game, but they had 2 turnovers and nothing about them looked good. I was watching that one. I'm just like, man. Okay, Baylor's going to get up. Baylor's up 10-3. They're up 13-3. Yeah, they're going to do it. And then right there in the fourth quarter, what happened? Lemon booty. Start falling over themselves. throwing interceptions. I hate throwing interceptions at the end of the game that leads to a touchdown that ends the game. I thought we was going to get overtime. I really did. I'm looking at this. We got a minute something left. All right, we're going to go to overtime. Nope. So Robertson threw that interception, and he was like, ooh, that's not good. Yeah, what are they doing? Dave Aranda need to figure out what he's doing. Now, granted, the good thing for them, they only gave up 20 points to Utah, which Utah is usually a pretty good scoring team. But Baylor itself they don't look good. Sawyer Robertson threw only 12 of 28, 218, 2 interceptions in this game. And you would expect that their run game to be more efficient. They only got 121 yards rushing. They gave up 224. 4.8 yards per carry. That's a massive number. And Utah basically just held the time of possession. That's something that, you don't want to have happen to you if you think that you're going to be able to make waves. The struggle is real. The struggle is real for for Baylor. And I do think that Dave Aranda, coming into next week, if they have any issues against Long Island, which they should go out and blow them out. I'm going to say that spread, let's go look at the spread real quick, because I anticipate this spread to be massively high. They ain't even got no spread out for this. It's a 99% chance for them to win this game based upon the analytics. They cannot lose this game. Honestly, they better not let Long Island State University Sharks score a touchdown. If they do, man, that's a garbage one. We'll let pass, but that's a struggle. But the fact that they got Texas right afterwards, night game, ABC, at home, they've got to figure out something. And I think the game for Baylor to try to get back on the right track is going to be Texas. They've got to show out for that game. And if they don't show up for that game, man, there is nothing about them that tells me that they can compete. But then you go look at the Utah side. Let's talk about Utah. They walked in here. Cam Rising did not play. And they won. They gutted it out and won. Bryson Barnes as well as Nate Johnson split basically 2-quarterback game. Barnes had to come out because he threw that interception. You bring in Nate Johnson. He only threw for 153 yards in this game, and they still won. That, to me, is huge on them because Kyle Whittingham will show up with a disciplined team. They will play really good defense, and they will run the ball. And they ran for 224 yards. Shout out to my boy Steven over there at Fanatic Perspective. Because word to it, that's exactly what happens when you play in this type of game and you bring the two most important things with you. Defense, run game. So Jaquindon Jackson out there, 19 carries, 129, 6.8 yards a carry. And then Jalen Glover also got him some runs, 7 carries for 40 yards, averaging 5.7 yards a carry. Yeah, they balled out. And so the Pack should be on watch because Cam Rising will be back within the next couple of weeks before the season's up. Ooh-wee. That means that there's a good chance that Utah's going to be a problem in the Pack. And when you go look at who they have scheduled coming up, let's look at their schedule real quick. They got a gauntlet of UCLA. They have UCLA at the crib. They travel to Oregon State. And then mid-month of October, they travel to USC and Oregon comes to the crib. They've got a tough schedule, and they end the season with Colorado. So the Pack is probably the best team of quarterbacks in college football. We've got to give them mad props. So I think that Utah is going to show us something special. Keep your eyes open. I do anticipate them being a problem in the Pack, and they're probably going to be in the Pac-12 championship game again. 3 years in a row. Who would have thought? So once again, the Pack decide to show up in Big 12 country and do what? Slap people around. So Utah technically is a Big 12 team now since they'll join the Big 12 or whatever they're going to call themselves at that point. They showed out down there in Baylor. And these are all road games. Remember that too. Baylor lost at home to Utah. That's the crazy part. Oregon went to Lubbock. And I swear I thought that Oregon was going to lose that game. But Bo Picks, a.k.a. Bo Nix, Bodacious, or whatever the hell they call him, Went out there, did his thing. 359 yards, passing, 2 touchdowns, 32 for 44. Ooh, boy. 8.2 yards a pass. He had a game. And Tyler Shaw, y'all really was ripping that kid. 3 interceptions in this game. Turnover machine was going. And Oregon, hey, man, I've told a few folks, man, I'm not sleeping on Oregon this year, but they did not look that good against Tech. They let Tech have too much goodwill in this game. And they could not run to save their lives. 113 yards on 31 carries. They gave up 174. So I'm wondering where this Dan Lanning defense is. Both teams had over 400 yards, over 450 yards in this game. This was one of those quote-unquote track meets, but Oregon went out there and, sealed the deal because Tech decided that they want to give everything back. I mean, you go up 30-28. Look at the sequence. Go up 30-28, kicking a field goal, right? Oregon comes down, drives in 10 plays, 4 minutes. It's 5 minutes left in the game. They kick a field goal, and they take the lead by 1 point. So it's a lot of back and forth, whereas I thought Tech was going to be able to try to get a lead initially, but when Tech took that lead 27-18, I was like, okay, Tech in the third quarter might have something. Then they gave up that touchdown. Oregon made only a 2-point game. Went from 27-18 to 27-25. Then Oregon forced them on downs, got their field goal. Tech got their field goal back. So it's a lot of back and forth. A lot of action-packedness. Oregon gets that field goal to take the lead. And then, of course, Shaw throws that interception that becomes a pick six. Throws a 45-yard pick six. And that's when the game just basically was done. And then he threw another interception in the game. Oregon seals the deal 38-30. And Oregon looked defensively okay. I'm just going to say it. That's my thought. Going back and look at it, it wasn't all that great. Now, they ended up with 4 tackles, 5 tackles for the loss, which isn't bad. Tech only had 1 sack and 5 tackles for the loss. Overall, Tech shot themselves in the foot in this game. And they tried to find any way, shape, or form to lose this game. That's what they did. They gave this game away. Tech didn't want it. So I ask y'all this question. Hop in the comments and let me know what you think. Big 12 still run through Lubbock? Because I'm looking at that 0-2 record. Tech and Baylor. Not good. Should I be scared of Tech or Baylor? Because I'm not. Both of them do not look very disciplined. They look both very sloppy. And I was high on Joey McGuire. I thought that Joey McGuire was going to do some special stuff. But now I'm looking at this and I'm asking my questions. Is it that they just have bad quarterback play, or are they just not disciplined enough? I thought Tyler Shaw was going to give us some specialness, and so far we ain't getting it. Wyoming. You lose to Wyoming, and then you lose to Oregon at the crib. On the road to Wyoming, by the way. So we'll see. We'll see if Oregon can do it and compete for the Pac. I think they're one of the teams that goes to the Pac-12 championship. I think I'm going to still stand by that. But I'll tell you this. That Colorado game for Oregon is going to really tell me everything about them. Because Colorado's hot and they can win shootouts. If they can do well in the shootout, it's a difference maker, baby. It's a difference maker. And if they fail in that shootout, season's done. Because if there's one team you're going to have a shootout with anytime you play them, it's USC. Defense, by the end of the season always falls to attrition, but their offense don't. Offense remains potent. Oregon, you got to be prepared for that. Tech, man, show me something when y'all play Texas. Now I'll talk about Tech more. All right, let's wrap this bad boy up. We're going to rapid fire these last 2 games. 2 games that I had very much interest in because they were the 2 games that I picked. Reminder, hit the like button, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Just give us 5 anyway and gift it. On Friday, I'll be on Bleacher Report, on the Bleacher Report app for our college football game day prediction roundtable. So pull up, join us. We'll be talking ball. Pretty excited about how well I'm going to do again. So I'm going to be definitely, I only missed 1 this week. And next week, I plan on missing no more than 1. The goal is 1 per week. and see if I can finish with the best record. So put your money on your boy because I'm doing it. So let's jump into this game. Washington State, Wisconsin. Now, I've been high on Wisconsin going into the season. I like Luke Fickell. I like the fact that he has resources, even more resources going to Wisconsin. And the biggest problem I had with them is that they got a whole bunch of quarterbacks, and I don't know if they know what they're doing. Tanner Mordecai is their quarterback. 278 and a touchdown in this game. Not too bad, but he's 25 for 40. Not bad. Cameron Ward, though, for Washington State, that boy is a beast. So they traveled up to Pullman to try to figure out if they can win this game at Washington State. And a ranked Wisconsin could not beat an unranked Washington State. Those Cougars were fighting. They were kicking butt. And they can ball. Like Cameron Ward, when he got there from Incarnate Word, I was like, man, I don't know who this kid is. I mean, he threw for 4,600 yards at Incarnate Word, 47 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. 4,600 yards, 47 touchdowns. They're stabilizing things there at Wisconsin, and at Washington State, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. He may have a really big season. Like, he can play. I love Cameron Ward. I am big on him. And he's 6'2", 223, bigger kid from Texas. He's got 663 yards this season and 5 touchdowns. I like what I see, averaging over 330 yards a game. He can ball. I've seen him. I've seen enough of him to know he can play. You put him in the right system, he can play. And so they're 2-0. They're moving up in the rankings. They're teams that, they beat Colorado State to start the year, blew them out, which means Colorado's going to blow them out too. And then they go out there and they beat Wisconsin at the crib, which is a big game. I'm sold on them. And Cameron can run as well. 17 carries, 43 yards. So basically he did everything. He was basically a one-man show in this game, and that was fun. Washington State needs to figure out this run game, though. You can have a guy that's a world beater. I'm not going to act like that's not something realistic because we've watched it be successful. But I'm not going to pretend like him being a world beater is not kind of a problem for me. I mean, he leads the team in rushing at 83 yards. Next person is 41. So if Washington State wants to be successful, they need to establish a run game on top of having Cameron Ward, and I think they'll be fine. You got to at least have some weapon that people can key on if the quarterback is the only thing that's doing something. So, yeah, let's see what it looks like for them. Pretty excited. I do believe that, Washington State may be a threat in the pack right now. We'll see what they look like. Let me see. Their schedule-wise, with Oregon State, UCLA coming up, then, of course, the Oregon game as usual, Colorado and Washington at the end of the season. They got a lot of winnable games. I don't think they go undefeated. They'll lose at least 3, and they'll end up in a really good bowl game. But that's really it. Keep your eyes open for Washington State, man. They're going to be a threat. Wisconsin, though, it's a good learning experience. They need a quarterback. They just need a quarterback. Once they get a quarterback established, they'll be fine. I'm not sleeping on and thinking that Wisconsin is done. I think they'll be fine in the Big. And when I look at their schedule, the only team they play is going to be Ohio State. That's really a threat. They've got the defense already. As long as they go out there and play their game and prepare themselves for Cade McNamara over there at Iowa, I think they'll be good. Ohio State's going to be their tough game on the 28th, though. Luckily, he's at the crib. But that's going to be a tough game. Last game. We got to dive into this one. Wrap it up with a bow on it. Ole Miss, Tulane. I'll talk about OU, SMU at the end of this also, but this is the last game I'm really going to dive into. Jackson Dart walked out there, 267, 2 touchdowns, and Ole Miss beat Tulane. Shout out to Ole Miss finishing his 37-20. The score did not look like that. That was a last-minute touchdown for them to go over the spread. They looked at, I was watching the Scott Van Pelt show, and they did the bad beats, and this was one of those bad beats. That scoop fumble touchdown just threw everything off, man. It was like a minute and some change left. Scoop fumble touchdown. So, yeah, that is exactly what you would expect. But it's a good one. It was a good game. Balling. It was balling. Tulane went out there with some heart. They didn't have Prater, with Pratt. They didn't have Pratt out there, which I thought Pratt was going to play. Pratt did not play. And they had Kai Horton. Kai Horton looked like he was going to win it by himself. He said he was going to go out there and do it. But he started struggling. Mekhi Hughes tried to keep them going with his 92 yards rushing in this game. But, yeah, Ole Miss actually put a good defensive clinic on. And, honestly, Tulane did well on the defensive side, too. Only gave up, 360 yards, 363 yards? It's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's actually really good. I'm actually surprised that Tulane was able to hold them to that, but Tulane's been putting out some talent. I mean, they got 342 yards in this game. So this was a solid battle throughout. Ole Miss felt like they were playing with their food, but at the same time, Tulane just fought. Ole Miss did something this season that they normally would not do. They won in the end of the game. They could have laid down and been done, but they took it in the third quarter and said, we're going to win this game. And boom, took the lead in the fourth and kept going. Not something I would have expected from them to take the lead and keep the lead from there. They kept Tulane from scoring. But Tulane's going to be beastly. They're going to be beastly. They're going to be beastly. So keep your eyes open for that. It's going to be fun. So hop in the comments. Let me know. How'd y'all feel about Ole Miss winning this game? Tulane. Do y'all think Tulane is still a viable opponent? Have we now shown them respect? Last one's OU SMU. And I'm just going to say this. I've done recaps. I've done all kinds of shows. I've done a lot of talk about my Sooners and SMU. And the only thing I got to say really is this. They better not play with their food for the rest of the season. I get that Jeff Lebby, even he said it in his presser that he was being conservative. Cool. Do not play with your food for the rest of the season. Because if you play with your food for the rest of the season, you will be food. Folks will be gunning for you. They want you to fail. And the only way to not fail is to not play with your food at the end. So you better make it happen, folks. You better freaking make it happen. I expect a blowout against Tulsa. It's going to be a fun game. Something to definitely check out. Make sure you check out I'm going to do a preview with a Tulsa Golden Hurricane podcaster. We're going to talk about the Canes, Kevin Wilson, all of that stuff. We'll get them in and really dive deep into it. So thank y'all for pulling up to the show. Please hit that like button. You to the channel, subscribe. If you're listening, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Just give us 5 anyway. And gifted. If you want, hop in the comments. Give me some info. Tell me what you think. You can also call us 430-901-1906. Let us know what you think of the show. We appreciate all the love and support. We'll keep this bad boy rolling. I think that on Friday we will dive into previewing next week's games. That will be what we'll do. We'll preview next week's games we'll do that on Friday. As long as my schedule permits it. You'll have another 30 to 40 minutes on Friday morning. We'll enjoy ourselves. And with that, I'll chop it up with all of you all in a few days. Peace.